The idea I'm going to work on next started with a very different concept. I had found what I thought was the perfect mold. Rectangle with little lip, so that once you slump, you're going to have this beautiful flat tray with a tiny little lip and handles. Discovered after I purchased it, it was not going to fit in my Gen Ken kiln. So instead of doing a Happy New Year hors d'oeuvre tray for like a hostess gift for a New Year's Eve party, I just put it on a shelf and tried to decide whether I was going to keep it, sell it, donate it, whatever. And so the idea just kind of got put on hold. That was the end of 2023, and it was going to be something for New Year's 24. So fast forward, over the course of the last year, I upgraded to the Beast, an Olympic, can't remember the model number right now, but I'll add it in the description, which can accommodate a tray this large. So it's 7 by 13. Instead of doing a Happy New Year, it's going to be a winter theme, 3 snowmen, pardon the dreadful sketch, but it's going to be 3 little snowmen, and then I'm going to use the Cricut Joy to make a stencil that says "Let It Snow," and then put some painted snowflakes around it. So my tray is 7 by 13. I'm going to do 5.5 blue, 1.5 white. The snowmen are primarily made out of 3/4 and 1 inch strips, which I cut at varying sizes and then rounded them with the grinder. I'm going to use Glacier Blue for the background and was considering just capping it with clear, and then the bottom there's going to be a strip of dense white and the snowmen are going to sit on the snowbank. But instead I got a beautiful piece of clear with a white swirl. Alrighty, my glass order arrived. So I have some beautiful streaky clear and white to look like a winter sky. Fantastic. Oh, these are beautiful. Now this is the type of piece where normally for this project I would use this beautiful edge, but this part where it looks like snowbank is too short, and if you take the entire width across, this rolled edge is not so beautiful. This part, which I love, I'll just save that for something else. Tougher to cut because the half sheets are bigger than this Beetle Bits cutter can accommodate. So I have to take the whole thing apart and do it gently, bit by bit. So now I have to decide which part of this, and I'm thinking of this part over here because it's a little more consistent. It looks a little bit more like a snowstorm. So I'm going to gently put these over here, gently place this down. Yeah, I definitely like this side. So I'm going to cut this section off. And I need a 7 by 13 piece of this swirly white. This is what I want. A nice swirly, snowstormy looking. And these are 2mm, this is 3mm. So that's the strip of snow. And then this will go over top. I'm thinking this way. And I will tack this into one piece. And then the words will go across the top. I will have "Let It Snow," and then the little snow family will be in the foreground. I need 1 inch strips of dense white and 1 1/4 inch strips of dense white. Base of the snow people, I need a 1 inch. It'll be a square or slightly rectangular shape. So that will be for the snow child and snow mom and dad. I'm going to do an inch by an inch and a quarter. Slightly wider than it is tall. And so I've got an extra one for the child. So there's mom and dad and little snowman child, which I think is a little bit too tall, so I might knock this down to 3/4 instead. I often make adjustments as I'm going because what looks great on paper doesn't always look good in glass. So we have mom, dad, little one. Now we need to make the next part of the body. And this is a 1 inch square. I think I'm going to do a 1 inch by a 3/4. And all of these pieces, once they're cut out, I'm going to grind the corners so they look more snowball shaped. Mom, I might have the same size, but I might make her slightly less than 3/4. The little one, I have this 1/2 inch piece of scrap, and I'm going to go a 1/2 by 1/2. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do a 1/2 by 1/2. And now that I'm looking at it, that might be the head is 1/2 by 1/2. Yeah. So I need that one a little bit. Maybe 3/4. Mom's knit hat is going to be made out of this beautiful swirly. And I also may have the little one's cap made out of this. And I'm going to take a section up here where you have a lot of blue in it. Have rough cuts of everybody's hat, and all of them are going to be trimmed down. Dad's top hat is way too tall. I think Mom's is going to look more like a little beanie. Next, I need to start grinding. And then the part I forgot, which I always like to put, is a little scarf. So you see these are pretty well roughed in. I'm going to do some more adjusting. I want the top of the top hat a little bit narrower. Mom's hat's fine. Little kid's hat, I'm not 100% sure I like that. But next step is to put a scarf on them. So I need a strip of the same green I've been using that's 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to cut a piece that I can round for this part, and then the two tails, it'll be triangular. I have 2 sets. This one is the one I'm going to work on now, which is it's a much more like wintry, not necessarily Christmas. And then this one is definitely more Christmas with the Christmas colors. Next, I need to go through the box of little frit balls so I can put faces on them. And then I think I will go upstairs and make the stencil on the Cricut. I'm gonna click make. Okay, it's not gonna let me do that one. I don't know why. Usually it just, oh, I'm in offline mode. I need to be online. That's what the problem is. So I'm not sure why I'm not online. Okay, just needed to shut off the Wi-Fi and turn the Wi-Fi back on, which solved that problem. So now I should be okay. And clearly it's bringing me the online screen. So now I'm gonna go to new project. I want text. I'm gonna write let it snow. That's what I want on my platter, my snowman platter. And now I can go in and I can look for fonts. And you're gonna see that there's no little A. That's the subscription. And I do not have the subscription, and I don't think I'm going to get the subscription because I just don't think it would be worthwhile. You can go through and see which one you like. I want it to be fairly thick. That one's cute. So I'm gonna enlarge this. I want it to be about 6 inches. I might make it 7. Now I'm not super good with this yet because I don't play with it enough. So I'm not really sure. Okay, how to do it. So then I'm gonna click make. I do wanna save it. This is gonna be let it snow 2. It's saving it for me. I'm using this stencil material. It has a hard backing, so I do not need a mat. That's what it's going to look like. I need at least 8.5 inches, which I have. And you're gonna see, instead of saying make, it's saying check out. And that's because I'm going to pay for it. And in this case, the fonts are expensive. The snowflakes were cheap. Now it's gonna say continue. Okay, next step is I need to load it into the machine. And then the machine is gonna determine whether or not I have enough. And then once I have enough, I click go, and then it's going to cut out my letters. And it's hard to see on here, but there's my little word, let it snow. I reinstalled the paper, the stencil vinyl, and I did it the other way. So I have one here and one here, and that's in case there's a mistake. Then I don't have to go upstairs and reprint. I can just use one of the ones I have. So I got a really great suggestion
when peeling this off, to keep everything really stable, using painter's tape would keep everything very steady and it wouldn't get wobbly. I don't have any painter's tape right now. I do have this transfer tape. So for now, I'm going to use the transfer tape. Certainly, I will get myself some blue painter's tape because it's much less expensive. But this will allow me to peel off the extra blue vinyl without making it crooked. Okay, now this is ready to flip over and stick to my platter, and it won't get wonky and out of shape because this tape is very inclined to get wonky and out of shape. I want them in the top section, but they need to be about an inch to an inch and a quarter, actually inch to an inch and a half from the edge. I'm going to use Sharpie. It'll burn off. And I think I'm going to go an inch and a half. No, inch and a quarter. I want it to be above the heads of the snowmen. This is the tallest snowman when I add his hat. I want it to be sort of evenly spaced right about there. I also want him to be about an inch and a quarter because I don't want him to be in the fold or in the edge of the tray. So I'm going to put him about an inch and a quarter, which is going to give me the strip right here to put the words. So I will also want to measure off the side, but that will work. It'll put it over their heads and it will not go up the lip of the tray. So let me find my center. I need to carefully place this down. Now I'm going to get him out of the way. Find my center on the stencil. Ugh. Make sure it lines up straight. And then put that down and press it down really well. And then you can peel the top layer off this transfer tape. And it should leave everything in place. You'll notice it's not. It's taking up the centers of everything. So I'll have to play a little bit more. Now I have to just peel these back up. This transfer tape, my hope was that it would keep everything in place. It did not. It's still, for me, easier to do this than it is to paint freehand. So let me get those unstuck and I'll bring you back. Decide on what color to do Let It Snow in. I would like it in blue, but I'm thinking I have to go with black because I don't have a blue that will work with this Arctic blue. So my next step, stencil on the letters, let it dry overnight, and then peel the stencil off. They have a great tool for picking the stencil out of these little spots. I definitely have the wrong blue, so I'm going to be using black instead. You want to make sure you've got good coverage, but you don't want too much because you don't want the paint to crack. can see I put a little bit too much paint on. And there was a fold in the tape. So my choice is either to do it over again or just try to touch up. I think I'm going to touch up. Maybe I'll do it over again. Not sure. And then I do have a second stencil and a second set of snowmen, so I will do another one as well. So I have the lettering on, the 2 pieces on the back, piece on the front. Everything's been cleaned up. I need to make sure the little bits of black are off. I did touch up a little, which needs to dry. Next, I'm going to build my snowman. So I've got everything the way I want it. I'm going to put some snow on the bottom, and then I'm going to sprinkle the entire thing with crystal clear powder because all these little fiddly bits, I want them to stay in place. So I'm going to let them dry because in some areas I've got too much glue and they're going to slide around. So I'm going to adjust as they dry. Sprinkle the whole thing with powder, and then I will put this in for a tack fuse. Usually I would do 2 separate fuses. I would fuse the base together and then I would fuse the snowman on top. But I've had a lot of comments about it being so much easier to just do 1 fuse. So we're going to give it a try. So this winter platter is finally done. I actually made 2 of them. And in order to fill the beast, I did a few trinket dishes and a few coasters as well. So I will fire these for a tack fuse, and then I will put them in for a slump.
All right, it's cool enough to take a quick look.
Oh my goodness, how cute!